Okay, sorry everybody. Zoom is having a bad day. It happens. And sometimes our kids have bad days. Sometimes we have bad days. And that is when classroom management becomes really, really important. Because when you have moments like that, the last thing you want to do is get frustrated. So today, our experts are going to share some really unique approaches to classroom management. They're going to talk about some high-level strategies. They're also going to give you some really practical tools that you can put to work right away in your classrooms. I'm so excited to tell you that after our webinar today, you're also going to receive a digital backpack, which is an email, and it's going to have a tool from each expert in that email. So be on the lookout for that. There'll also be a recording of this webinar. We'll cut out all that noise at the beginning so that you can just focus on the content. So if you miss anything, don't worry. You will be able to go back and watch this again. Now, our hour is going to be really full. We can't possibly teach you everything that we'd like to today, but we are going to want to answer your questions. So we have a form that our producer, Courtney Boland, thank you, Courtney, is going to drop into the chat. So use that, please, to submit any questions you have to make sure we don't miss them about today's webinar and about what you learned today. And then we're going to reach out to you via email within the next week. We're going to answer every single question. So ask away. And finally, if anything you hear today makes you go, oh, wow, yes, we need more of this in our program. We need to learn more about this. Each of our experts teaches a course for the Academy at NHSA. They're fully online. They include live coaching sessions with these incredible teachers. So you get a chance to connect not just with them, but also with other Head Start staff all across the country and hear about their experiences. We've had education managers, coaches, teachers, site leaders take these courses, rave about them. So you're welcome to join us, and information about that will also be in your digital backpack. So watch for that follow-up email with all those resources. Now, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and have our experts introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their areas of expertise. We'll start with Hayes and then move on to Nick and then finish up with Dr. B. Go ahead, Hayes. You're muted though, Hayes.
Got it. Okay, how's that?
Better.
Oh, good. All right. So I'm Hayes Greenfield. I'm a musician and a composer and a sound artist, and I've been working with young people and teachers for 30 years in a lot of different capacities. I started working with kids who'd been incarcerated who were turning their lives around to then running a music program for 7 years at an after school program to becoming a teaching artist in schools all over the New York City area, the metropolitan, the Jersey, Connecticut. I put together a Jazz and Mataz program, a live interactive jazz show, which I did for assembly programs for 12 or 15 years, where I went to all different schools from pre-K to high school, special needs, the whole gamut. And I would go and I'd have kids get up and play with my band. From there, I put together a pilot program for PNC Bank Rope, great initiative that we implemented for 3 years in Detroit on how to teach pre-K teachers how to work with sound. And then from there, I worked with a wonderful, wonderful Head Start program in New York called the Lenox Hill Neighborhood House Family Center, and worked there for 5 years to work with the teachers and the students to really codify this method that makes it possible for me to be here today to share with you all. And I feel very honored to be a part of the National Head Start Association, to have my course on their website. I love Head Start, and I guess, we'll take it from there. How's that?
That's perfect. Go ahead, Nick.
That was great, Hayes. My name is Nick. I'm an early childhood music educator, and I have been bringing interactive music and movement into preschool classrooms for over 30 years. I have my own mobile preschool music program here in Southern California, and I also have my own curriculum that I do teacher training workshops with and things like that. I teach at a lot of different Head Starts. I've been teaching with Head Start for about 17 years. And I love working with Head Start teachers and students and organizations. I love the NHSA. My approach to our early childhood music is to get the children moving and dancing and crawling like a spider and flying like a butterfly and playing instruments and reading music notes and all the developmental benefits that flow from that, that include social and emotional development and cognitive development and impulse control and gross and fine motor skills and development. Just the list is endless. And what all those things add up to is enhanced school readiness, which is, I know, a primary goal of Head Start. So that's why Head Start is such a wonderful fit for me. And I'll leave it at that for now. And I'll give you guys some more information a little bit later in our program today.
Nick, I will, before we hand it to Dr. B, I did see a question about certificates for this webinar. Yes, you will receive a certificate for attending this webinar. Go ahead, Dr. B. Oh, you can't come off mute? Oh, no! Yet another technical issue for today. Do you want to try and log out, come back?
There we go. I was blocked because we had to mute everybody. Okay, we're good. We're good. This is an awesome way to start this session, actually, because these are the kinds of hiccups that you have in the classroom with children that we're talking about. So this is what one of the things I used to say is there are no bad days, only bad moments. So these are just moments and we figure out how to get past them. So I am Debbie Bergeron, Dr. B to lots of people in Head Start. And I'm so excited to be here with all of you. My background includes about 30 years in public ed, mostly K-12 before landing at the Office of Head Start, where I worked as the director for the last administration, and then was so excited to come to National Head Start Association. And here I'm really driving our professional learning arm. Part of that is doing a lot of courses around leadership. So a lot of what I do is leadership driven. However, one of my most favorite thing to share with educators is centers around what we would call behavior management or classroom management. But what I really think is about relationship driven instruction. And that can happen in a pre-K classroom and it can happen in a high school classroom. So what I teach is a class called Trust First, and it is centered around how to approach relationship building to create a classroom that is trust-based. And when that happens, everything else is so much easier. What's beautiful about the three of us, Hayes and Nick and I together, we kind of link together to create this really comprehensive approach to classroom management. So if you are able to take, I mean, today you're going to take away nuggets. You're going to get a lot from today. But if you're able to take our courses in their entirety, what you'll end up with is this really handy tool belt that'll be full of all these things you can use throughout the year to ensure that your classroom is running as smoothly as possible. And that's for your own joy, as well as the joy of your children.
Let's jump right in and start giving you guys these really useful tidbits. I'll let the applause can continue. That's fine. So first question, when challenging behaviors pop up in the classroom, often we're tempted to start layering on rules and consequences and get control of the thing. But that is not the case here. So I'd like to know how each of you approach classroom management. Hayes, we will start with you.
Okay, so, you know, when I work with sound. And for anybody out here who's thinking sound is music, it's not. Okay, Nick works with music. I work with sound, and sound comes before music. Sound is before anything we call music. Music is sound, but sound is not music. And everybody here is completely capable, 100% for working with sound. And what I'm focusing on is a high sound. Can everybody make the sound of a bird? Tweet, 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 tweet. Can you make your arms go up like this? Tweet, tweet, tweet. And then can you make your sound like a lion roar? Roar, low sound, right? Well, I like Nick doing the like, right? Or we're doing like, so we're dealing with pitch, volume, whether it's loud or quiet, right? Volume, pitch, volume, and duration, whether it's long or short. And when you start to do that, all of a sudden you start to have a whole lot of ways to even listen to the room sound. If you go into your room and you ask your kids to just listen to the room, and we close our eyes and we take a moment to just listen, a mindful moment. And then when we open our eyes and we can inspire discussion as to what kind of sounds we heard. Were they long? Was there a horn outside? Was it a truck or a car horn? You know, what's the most quiet sound? Was it a buzzing in the light fixture? You know, was it in the hallway? Was that an adult or was it a kid? And what this does, it begins to give license to listening and to identifying this stuff. And this is what what children, they love. And you have a discussion, and we become aware of where we are. And sound, I've had classes with 3-year-olds saying, "It's too loud. Can we quiet down?" And what they're really saying is, "It's too loud. I'm having trouble learning. It's too loud for me to learn. Can we?" Because they've become aware of sound, because they can control when you're making high-pitched sounds and low-pitched sounds and loud sounds and calm and quiet sounds, you're realizing that what you do matters, and you can have an effect in your room. And it really starts at listening. I don't know how many minutes I went, but that's the beginning of working with sound. And everybody here is completely capable of doing it.
A good foundation, Hayes. Appreciate it. Nick, why don't you talk a little bit about classroom management and music?
Okay, great. Thanks, Rachel. I love what Hayes shared, and I love what Dr. B said about giving Head Start teachers a tool belt, like Batman's utility belt, full of all these different amazing tools and techniques and skills that you can acquire when you learn about the different areas of expertise that we all have to share with you. And I think for me, with class management, it's happening on 2 levels. There's the immediate, in the moment class management that you can do in order to redirect children's energy so that you're channeling their amazing energy into creative things like music and movement. But on the other side of the spectrum is how we're helping children to develop their social and emotional literacy and skills and impulse control, and all these ways that interactive music and movement helps children to just become better citizens of the classroom, and in a way where they're learning how to their emotions. And that is something I think that just leads into a better class management type of situation. You know, when I come into a classroom, if it's the morning time and the kids are full of a ton of energy, I'm going to say, well, I'm going to take that energy and I'm going to channel it into some amazing movement, really vigorous movement songs where the children are crawling like a spider and jumping like a frog and flying like a bird and riding on a train. And then we're going to burn up a whole bunch of their energy that way, in a way that's creative and expressive and is allowing them opportunities to grow in so many different important areas, and to grow their language skills and their impulse control and their social and emotional development in all these ways. And then we'll sit down with instruments like shakers and drums and scrapers and things like that, and we're going to pass those out, and we're going to play music notes and tell musical stories and play songs. So, you know, I think for me, it's a matter of, if my group that I'm in charge of at any given moment, if they're bouncing off the walls and maybe they're starting to get unsafe, maybe they're doing a little wrestling, and it's just not a good, the classroom doesn't feel like it's flowing in a productive way, I have to look at what am I presenting to the group at that moment. And maybe there's something I can change about what I'm presenting so that it's something that's going to capture their attention and hold their engagement. And, you know, when I'm teaching music, if I'm doing a song and I'm losing their engagement, I don't finish the song. I immediately shift into something else. And I'm paying attention to the group. So I know that I'm able to have a whole repertoire of different things with different qualities that I can bring into play at any moment in order to recapture their attention. And I call it the Music Express. I want to get all my students onto the Music Express and keep them on there while I'm doing my music and my curriculum with the students. If I slow the train down, if I let something else in the room become more interesting than what I'm presenting, then they're going to start to disembark from the Music Express. I don't want that to happen, so I keep it a lot of energy, a lot of flow, a lot of enthusiasm. So whatever I'm presenting, I'm using my body language and my vocal inflection and my facial expression to really express my engagement with the material and my 100% engagement, so that they pick up on that, and then I have no problem because they're right there with me. And if I notice any little particular member of the group or multiple members of the group that are starting to get distracted, or maybe they're next to somebody in the group that they like to wrestle with, I will redirect that energy in the context of the music and movement without stopping what's going on. And I'll just do it in a way it's not punitive. I'm not shaming them or calling them out in any way. I'm just saying, hey, I've got a special spot for you in the group right over here. And all of a sudden I've adjusted the chemistry of the group, and now everything's flowing. The Music Express is flowing down the tracks with no problems. And that's a little bit of a taste of what we do. Class management is the 4th module in my academy or my course at the academy. So I have a whole module devoted to this, all the details of this technique. There's a lot more to it, of course. So I'm looking forward to when we have students in there that I can really dig into that aspect of my curriculum. Thank you.
And I love how Darlene Farbo pointed out in the chat, behavior is communication. That's exactly what you're talking about. Paying attention to what the children are telling us and then pivoting. And that all comes down to what Hayes was saying, which is you got to have a lot of variations. You got to have a lot of tools so that you can be ready to respond to whatever's happening in the classroom. Okay, Dr. B, on to you.
Yeah, this is all so exciting. I love how our 3 very distinctive spaces intertwine. And I think that's what's so beautiful about this collaboration is there's something for everyone in here. I also noticed in the chat that we have leadership and teachers in the room today, which is super exciting to me. What we talk about at Trust First can absolutely be a teacher who learns to create a Trust First classroom isolated in that classroom, but obviously it works ideally if leadership is backing up this mode of culture setting. If the children are only experiencing that in this one space and then they go out into the hallway and life is very different, it's very hard to maintain that priority. So I love that we have leadership and classroom folks here. But your question initially, Rachel, was about the drive to control and to feel like I've got to get this under control. And I think that's a really good question, because our pool and teachers, we are naturally, this is why we go into this work, because let's all face it, we are control freaks. We love to be the orchestrator and call the shots because we've got all the best ideas. And if people would just listen to us, everything would be great. I'm sure you have all the best ideas, but it doesn't always work that way. So the irony is, the less we try to control, the better the scenario turns out for us. That's just a really easy thing to say and a hard thing to do, though. You don't do it just by deciding, oh, I'm just not going to have any control in the classroom. There are skills that go with that to set up engagement with children and tone and culture in a classroom that allow you to let go and not feel like every movement has to be your call. And that's really what the Trust First approach is all about. So, for example, I'm going to talk about a specific skill here, but later on in my course, one of the big things that we talk about is taking out of your repertoire reward and punishment. And that is really, really hard for most of us in our society. We are driven by stars and stickers. And even though we might say we don't punish, when you give stickers, but someone doesn't get one, that's a punishment to the kiddo who didn't get one. So sometimes we don't even know that we're punishing, and we really are. The other thing we tend to do is talk about natural consequences, but children must experience natural consequences in order to learn appropriate behavior. And my approach just doesn't buy into that philosophy. Certainly, the planet has its own way of moving about, and things are sort of organically going to happen, a push-pull or whatever. But our sort of creation of consequences in believing that that is going to inspire behavior tends to backfire more than it actually works. It will work with some children because you can use fear to get some children to do what you want them to do, but you aren't actually teaching responsibility. What you're doing is you're creating a scenario where I'll pull back because I'm afraid. But those kids generally will do what you want them to do anyway. It's the kids who actually don't even respond to fear that we struggle the most with, because their lives are typically more chaotic than even your classroom is. So what we're trying to do is get to a space where you're setting up an environment where children are doing exactly what you want them to do because it's the right thing to do and it feels really good. That's human nature. Again, easy to talk about, a little harder to do, but the class goes through 10 skills that are very specific, super digestible. There are no worksheets or checklists. This is all about just tweaking a little bit of the way you think about your relationship with your children.
Okay, so let's think about this. So now we've kind of talked high level, like strategies. Let's get real granular here and come up with a scenario. One really common mid-year behavior is restlessness. Kids are just up and all over, and that can be really tough on already tired teachers. So talk about how your approach could help a teacher tackle that behavior in the classroom. Ready, Hayes?
Yeah. Well, I love what Nick and Deb, what you guys are saying. And I love being a part of this because it's how one picks up after the other. When you start engaging with sound is collaborative in nature, right? I mean, it's like it is. So the more you start to do it, first of all, children absolutely adore doing it, and it's play based, right? So we know about the fact of cortisol and the effect on kids who are coming in who are having a lot of difficulty in terms of focusing and engaging because they have a lot of stress in their lives. And when they introduce play based stuff, there's more dopamine so that they can engage and participate and focus. Every child loves to make sound. Whether they're deaf, I've had deaf kids love to make sound, high verbal kids, nonverbal kids, special needs kids. And when you make sound and you do it regularly, you do it several times a day, and what I focus on is in transition times, kids they take agency. They want to take agency. They want to get involved. They do it. It's easy for them. And then all of a sudden, the teacher for management, if you want to, their role can switch from leader to facilitator. And now you have your students leading the activities. And that talk about, challenging behaviors or having an environment that's working like a seamless ensemble where kids are paying attention to each other. If you're leading a sound activity, let's say here's one sound activity. Actually, I 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now everybody's going to jump on that, and they can make mistakes. It's not a matter of doing it right. It's a matter of being intent and being deliberate in their intention of trying to make the sound. And if you don't overcorrect them, and you're as a teacher, you just do it and you let the kids figure it out. You've done it for 20 seconds. You have your kids focused. You've done your transition. You're on to another thing. You move the kids to the other side of the classroom. You just start it. You could just start it out 1, 2, and they're going to jump in. Now, when you're doing it with your kids and you have to have somebody, you could say to, hey, David, you do that. Or Mary, you do that. Lead it for us. Who wants to lead the activity? And all of a sudden, it's just becoming this, they're able to make sound. They don't have to learn anything new. So it's really providing your children an opportunity to embrace sound, make sound, do something that they love to do. They don't have to learn anything new. And it helps to make them feel trust and calm and safe. And it enables you to interact with your children better, with your students. Listen to them. So if they come in, if there's a kid and they're, having trouble and they're really loud, you might say to them, "Hey, I bet you can't make that same thing soft." And then they'll do it soft. And if they don't, you say, "I bet you're not old enough." And they go, "Oh, yes, I am." Right? And then once you start working with them and you make them, then what are you doing when you're doing that? You're just making sound at different volumes. You're allowing them to control it. So as the more that they control it, the more they realize that what they do matters and how they interact matters, which is social emotional learning. And we're plugging into executive function the whole way through, and we're creating trust. And we're creating a musical environment. I hate to say this because any of the teachers out here who think it's music, it has nothing to do with music. But what we're doing is creating an environment where we're listening, which is what's so based about music.
And you're setting that foundation so that they can do the stuff that Nick is teaching, and it isn't scary.
Yeah, well, and there's no mistakes because
There's
everybody's
no mistakes in sound.
there's-
And the great thing about your approach, Hayes, is how you can layer in all those variations with pitch and volume and duration. And we'll get back to that, but
Okay.
I have to pivot to Nick because I
Please,
don't want us
that's
to run
fine.
out of time. But Hayes has so much to teach you. I hope that you take his course. Okay, Nick, go ahead.
Thank you, Rachel. I love what Hayes was sharing. Yeah, so when our kids are getting restless, which, let's face it, they're restless in the middle of the year, the beginning of the year, the end of the year, during the summer. That's what they are. I mean, they have a lot of energy. And the thing about children is, I think we have something going on in our culture where we say, be quiet, hold still, sit down, and because rambunctious kids are tough to deal with sometimes. But I think what we miss is we my approach is instead of saying, be quiet, sit still, I'm like, okay, I see you have that energy. Let's get up and let's move and let's express it. Let's use it in a creative way. And so, that to me is it's like it's an opportunity rather than a challenge. Now, when we have children that are experiencing big emotions, they might be having one of those 6 emotions. Before we, started our group today, we were talking about happy, sad, angry, afraid, surprised, and disgusted are 6 emotions that we want children to have literacy with before they reach age 5. That's so important. It's more important than learning your shapes, your colors, your numbers, your letters. If they don't have this emotional literacy to be able to express emotions and recognize those emotions in other people, then they'll be missing something really important as they move into their rest of their lives. So if a child is angry or sad and they're expressing it, once they've had a chance to express the emotion and you want to help them to transition out of that big emotion, you can use the calming down song. Now, this is something that I put into your digital backpack that you're getting along with this webinar. And I want to show you exactly what you're getting because I'm going to sing the song for you. So I'm going to share it really quick. This is it's a PDF. It's a set of cards that you use along with this song. It's a song about breathing and counting and using sign language to count. And so we breathe. We go through this whole process of counting to 10 while we're breathing. And let me just share the song with you right now, because I'm excited for you to have this tool. When you can use this with your whole classroom all at once, or you can use it for just one individual child that may be really going through some crisis mode at that moment. You can take them to the calm down corner, take out your cards that go along with this song and play this song, sing this song with them. So everybody do it with me. Here we go. Take a deep breath and let it out softly. Take another breath and count to 10 slowly. 1, 2, I still feel angry. 3, 4, I'm still a little cranky. 5, 6, my body is calming. 7, 8, now I am relaxing. 9, 10, I feel better finally. Sometimes I just need to take a break. Sometimes I just need to stop what I'm doing. Sometimes I just need a hug to show me everything's okay, to help my upset feelings go away. So that's a fun way and a really useful tool. You can use those other images that I showed you. There's also in your digital backpack. You can turn this into a clipboard with separate pictures on Velcro, and you can say, point to the picture that you're feeling right now. You can have them tear it off and identify the emotion that they're having. And that's part of the process of helping them to pass through these strong emotions that they have. And so, hey, it all works together. And I'm excited to hear what Dr. B is going to share, because she's awesome.
Well, I'm excited because this is going to interlock so beautifully, as we know our courses do already. But I love that how for today this is going to interlock so well. So Rachel had said, you're dealing with mid-year behaviors, you've got restlessness. One of the things to remind ourselves about the mid-year piece is, the days are shorter, it's darker, everyone's a little bit gloomier. Also, when kiddos go away for a while and they come back, for a lot of them, for all of our kids, that's a really long time. And sometimes we just jump back into the work and we forget they really need a first day of school again. Let's not just assume everybody remembers how to walk in and push the chair in and do all those things. I think you guys probably already do all of that reminding at the break. That's pretty common. But what I want to talk about is the skill that we teach in Trust First, which is actually the very first skill I teach and recommended it's the very first thing that teachers do. So you would have already taught this by the mid-year, but it would be something that I think you would find most useful. And it's called a pit stop. And what I love about Nick's song is you could use his song to integrate this into the teaching piece. The pit stop is just like a NASCAR or Formula One, where the car has to pull over and take a break in order to finish the race. It's the same thinking. Kids will understand that. So it's a pause, it's an inhale, and then it allows your brain to think. And when we teach little kiddos about this, we literally teach them about the reptilian complex and the way the brain works. They love that. They love the picture of the brain, and they can understand the parts of their head and how that works when they get angry or they get frustrated. And then we teach them about the whole idea of breathing and how important breathing is in the thinking process. And when we start to get frustrated or angry, our thinker turns off. I mean, and that's true for kids and that's true for adults. So teaching the calming song is a great way of relaying that information. The pit stop is literally something we teach where we demonstrate. We're going to pause, we're going to breathe, and there's a specific breathing that we teach. And my digital backpack nuggets for you are the breathing lessons, which you'll find very simple, easy to implement. And then what we say is the thinking happens automatically, because once you pause and breathe, your brain all of a sudden is free to think. And what'll happen when you teach children this, and it doesn't have to be at the beginning of the year because it's January, you can start this now. Once they learn it and you demonstrate it, and my recommendation to teachers is always to set up the modeling. So walk in and spill your water. Allow yourself to get frustrated in front of them. And then, now what do I need to do? I need to clean it up. No reason to get angry, and you clean it up. What you're doing is demonstrating for them next time they can do the same thing. And what you will see, and I love this about young children, because so many people who aren't around younger children believe they don't have the capacity for this level of independence, but they absolutely do, is that you will all of a sudden see children just stopping, and then they'll breathe, and then they'll feel better. And it isn't a trick. It isn't a game. It is a physiological reality. And it will work for you and it works for your children. When you stop and breathe, you free up your brain, you free up your blood flow. We all know this. And yoga, it can be a kind of trendy thing, but it's trendy for a reason. It really does work. That kind of breathing really does free up your body to allow you to think. So that's the big skill I brought to the table today. That's one of 10 that we teach. And what you'll get in your backpack, are 2 videos by my teaching partner, Rhonda, who is not with me today, but she and I teach this course together. She is a career educator, been in the classroom for 30 years, and is a phenomenal example of trust first every single day. And I love talking to her about it because I'm no longer in the classroom, but she will talk about how her kids embrace all of these things, doesn't matter how little they are. And over time, what you're really doing is creating a culture, and the culture sticks, and the kids start using the language and they start using the behaviors. And doesn't mean that they never have a bad moment, or that nobody ever hits anybody, or that nobody ever has a tantrum. That isn't the point. The point is creating a classroom where we recover from that and we move along. And, you know, no one has to learn to hate school from it, which is my biggest fear of young little kiddos who struggle with behavior, learning really young that school is not for them. And they can decide that, and it never changes. So really excited that those intertwine, Nick. I think those are really nice little partners.
So Dr. B just started addressing this. She's transitioned us into this really nicely. So I want to give both Hayes and Nick an opportunity to talk about this too. People who are listening to you talk about using sound for transitions and making transitions amazing, or using music and being super shiny, and everyone will pay attention, and they're going, okay, yeah, but you have not been in my program. You have not been in my classroom. And I know you guys have run into that before. So I just want to give you an opportunity to speak to that resistance. Because if you haven't tried it, resistance is a normal reaction to change and trying something new. What do you say when you run into that?
Well, I want to add something. I love what Deb was talking in Nick, and I just want to say something. Playing silence, right? There's sound, and there's also silence. And children love to play a big silence, just like they love to play a big sound. They just love to play it. Doesn't matter. So for anybody who's really sitting there saying, "Nah, this isn't going to work in my classroom," I can only say, if you haven't tried it, you know, if try making some sounds with your kids, and your kids will tell you. Right? I know I've walked into classrooms where I've had teachers look at me like, okay, like stand like, yeah, let me see what you're going to tell me. And they, real attitude. And within 15 seconds, I have their kids in the palm of my hand. And when they see that just making sound, I could just be conducting sound. So I think teachers, if you feel like that, and I'm sure you have some very challenging classes, I've never met a child who didn't love to make sound. I've never met a person who didn't love to make sound. They might be a little shy and inhibited, but they still love to make the sound. And everybody's got their own way to make sound. That's what's so beautiful about sound. You know, everybody's got their own style. And I think that you should look at what's on our website, on the website, and see about, you know, at NHSA and the Academy, and see about why it is that we're here, why this all makes sense. I mean, each one of us makes total sense, and we're all part of a different, like, angle in, you know. And it's like, I don't know what else to say. If somebody's, go into a room and just start clapping your hand or start counting, and you'll see that the kids, they might look at you funny and go, huh? And then all of a sudden they'll go with you, they'll start counting. And that's all you have to do. And then if you count quieter, they'll get quieter. And if you count louder, they'll get louder. And what are they doing? They're developing their executive function skills right there. Active listening skills is developing your inhibitory control. Very simple activity that everybody might say, oh no, that's like, but it is. And then turn it around on somebody else and say, now you lead it. And your like toughest kid will go, oh God, I want to do that. So my only thing I can say is take a risk. We all love risks. Well, not all of us. Take a risk. That's what we do as teachers. We're providing a whole new level of thought. It's like, it's beautiful, and sound is collaborative. You know, listen to your kids. And I love what you said, Deb, earlier about not being punitive. You know, that's like, You know, a kid comes in and slaps his hand and slaps, if that can slap a puzzle piece on the paper, and because the teacher was working with sound, instead of saying don't do that, slapped her hand on the table and all of a sudden got his attention. And then they went and they had a rapport, and then they ended, she got him softer, and then they got louder and softer, and another teacher walked by and knew what they were doing and threw in a clap. And all of a sudden the kid was like, he was having fun. Play based. We're thinking in other ways. So again, teachers, try it. You know?
And he's going to give you some great ways to try it in that digital backpack. They're very simple little activities. So give it a shot. See what happens.
Yes,
Nothing works all the time.
That's
But
that's my
having it
challenge.
will work some of the time.
Thanks, Rachel. That's the challenge.
You got it, Hayes. All right, Nick, take it away.
Wow, that's so awesome, Hayes. I love what you're sharing with us today. Yeah, so this, I mean, I totally get it. When I do my teacher training, I have to address this early on because I'm presenting music, I'm playing the guitar, I'm leading these groups, I'm singing, and a lot of teachers are like, well, I don't play the guitar and I don't like to sing, so how am I going to do this in my classroom? So answer to that is you're going to use these tools that we have for you. So when we do the music and movement with the children, you're going to get a video in the backpack. There's a link to a video that's the Calm Me Down song. And of course, in the course that we have for the Academy, there's tons of songs in my course where I'm doing them on video, and you've got the audio, and you can lead the group yourself. You're going to be modeling the movements that go along with the songs. And that's how you facilitate the music and movement. As far as how these class management techniques that I'm sharing with you will be effective in your group, I have a whole graduated series of steps that I use with children, especially children that have challenging classroom behaviors. You know, Dr. Deb has such brilliant ideas and approach to this. What I do is I'm giving choices. So the thing about music and movement is it's something that the children love to do. So they're so attracted to it. They love it from the first time they do it to the 1,000th time they do the music. They love it. And they love to play the instruments. They love to move their bodies like different kinds of animals. They love to sing. They love to tell musical stories. So they're really motivated because the material that you're presenting to them is very engaging, and it's something that they just intuitively love to be involved with. So because they have this strong self-motivated incentive to want to be involved, they're also realizing I've got to be able to control my body when I'm interacting with my peers in the context of music and movement. So some of the songs I do are called imaginative movement songs, where the children are moving their bodies together in the group space. So they might be moving like different kinds of animals, crawling like a spider, flying like a bird, walking like an elephant, walking like a giraffe, swimming like a dolphin. So in order for them to be able to all move around together inside the group space, they have to have a pretty good grasp of impulse control. They have to be able to take care of their friends' bodies, take care of their own body. And it becomes this wonderful, collaborative, creative environment. They're getting this great peer-to-peer connection. You're modeling the movements along with the pre-recorded music that's playing. And they're getting that teacher to peer or teacher to child interaction that's so important for things like class and creating a positive affect in the classroom. And so they just have this motivation to be able to take your gentle direction as far as what's appropriate and what's acceptable. And that what I do is I have my invisible bubble. We put an invisible bubble around our body. So then we make sure that we move where there's room to go without bumping into our friends. And we call back to the invisible bubble whenever we need to, so that we make sure the children remember that. And it's just a great tool that they use. So, I work with a lot of teachers, and I'm going to show you a video a little bit later about, it'll be me in the classroom leading the music group with children, and you'll see how I'm doing it without playing an instrument or singing, using the pre-recorded music that you're going to have in order to lead this music and movement time, and see how the children are responding to that. All right, I'll pass it over to you, Dr. B.
Thank you. This is so hard because I just am so excited. I have so many things I want to share. I have gotten a couple of private messages that have said, what do you think about ABC? What do you think about ABA? I do want to make a point There are specific interventions that are designed for very specific diagnoses. I am no way am in that space right now. I'm not talking about a specific therapy that we implement because a child has a particular need. I'm talking about how you set up your whole classroom for the mainstream, day-to-day kind of approach to your classroom. So as I talk about things like my disdain for punishment and reward, I want you to take that in context, and that is about setting up a classroom that is punishment and reward based, not about an intervention that a child might need because he has a particular diagnosis. So that's just a side note. On Rachel's question about this won't work in my classroom, I have a great suggestion that will like alleviate that for everyone on the call. Stop looking for things that work. Saying something works implies that you are controlling everything. Remember what we talked about in the beginning about control? This is one of the pitfalls teachers fall into. They say, oh, well, that won't work. But when they say that, what they're really saying is, I won't get what I want all the time. And you're right, because you teach humans, and humans are dynamic and they move all over the place and they think differently and they come from different places. I suggest you alter. I used to do this when I teach this live. I tell everyone, like, you go through life like this. I'm going to teach you to do this. And I just want you to change the way you look at things so that you can start expecting what you will get. And when you do that, your whole perspective on children will change and your classroom feel will change. And then what happens, this is the beauty of it. And this is kind of the work part, but don't tell people I use the word work because I don't like that. But what happens is when you change your expectation, your body language and tone and feel, the energy that comes out of you is different. When your energy changes, children's energy changes. It's not all that different than holding a baby that's crying and you are stressed and the baby just cries louder. And you can't figure out why the baby won't stop crying. But all it does is feel your stress and it just goes up. When teachers set up, need something to work and it doesn't, without even meaning to, your energy shifts and children feel that. So what I'm teaching through these skills is a way that you can come into your classroom every day and set that tone for children that is 100% achievement driven. And it's kind of the example that Hayes gave is beautiful. Kiddo slaps his hand on the desk and you have the choice to say, we don't slap our hands on the desk in here for some reason. It hurts or whatever your reason is, it's noisy. And you have a choice to do that or to say, start a rhythm or whatever it is you choose to do, or even just to have a conversation about it with them if that's your angle. But the point being that every behavior that a child, in the very beginning, behavior is communication. This is all about them telling you what they need or what makes them feel successful. My oldest child as a toddler used to tear everything. Paper, crayons off the crayon. I had no wrappers on any crayons, tore them all off. But this is my training, and I was trained pretty young. And it took me a while, but I realized that was his achievement. As a young kid, he loved the sound of paper tearing and the feel of it tearing straight. Achievement to him. Hard for me to understand as an adult, but if I accepted that, it became less about destruction, which is a natural way to respond, and more about he was getting gratification. I just put all the books away that I cared about because he would torn all the pages out. So I just made sure he couldn't do that. So, I just get so excited about this because to me, this is less about changing your children than it is about changing yourself as a teacher. And when you do that, you will skip to work every day. You will love your job, everything about it, because you will feel so successful and such high achievement that all you'll want to do is just keep going back into that situation.
Also, going back to what we said at the beginning, all of this is easy to say. It's really hard to do, which is why we've set up courses where you can practice and learn more about how to apply these things. And you can learn directly from these three teachers by spending time with them in coaching sessions. So, highly recommend that you take a look at those. We are like this close to out of time, but I want to give each of you one more opportunity to just like, 'cause I know Nick has a video and I don't want to keep him from showing it, but everybody just like highlight one more thing from your course that you just love teaching about. Hayes, you know I want you to share that train.
Oh, chugga chugga. Okay, first of all, I just want to say it's a pleasure to be here, and here it is. So it's a transition activity. You come to the class, you'll see the video, but it's a sound sculpture, and it's, all it is saying to your kids, what's the sound that a train makes? And you got to give them the sound. It's helpful to give them the sound. You go chugga 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 chugga, and then they go chugga chugga. You got to go all the way down to the hallway, down to the cafeteria, and they'll be focused. And they go chugga 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 chugga. You want to add something to it? You go chugga 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 choo choo chugga 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 choo choo. And lastly, come to the class, because one of the most beautiful things that I think we all really love doing is interacting and having a conversation with all of you teachers so that we can share with you why this stuff is so important. And, you know, I can only tell you that you are all my heroes. Pre-K teachers are my heroes, and I've spent 20 years getting this stuff to this place so that in the same spirit as how you go to teach, I hope I can be of service and help you. And it's wonderful to be at NHSA and be here with Rachel, Nick, and Deb, Deb, you blow my mind. We did this once before. You are amazing.
You're all amazing. Give Nick a moment to be amazing. I'm almost out of time.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so I'm so excited about this course. Here's a little video. I'll just talk while this video is playing of me leading the music group. And you'll see I've got my music player there. It's playing the music. This is what you're going to be doing when you're going through my course. You're going to get music to use with your students. It's part of the homework. We just added a really awesome feature to the course where we have a live community message board. So not only will you be able to contact me through email and also interact with me and your peers while you're in the live coaching sessions, the 4 live coaching sessions that we have, but anytime you're needing to get some feedback, to share your experience, get some help to be guided through something that you're doing with the students in your class with music and movement, you'll be able to post on this message board. I'm going to see it right away. Everybody else that's signed up for the class will be seeing it. We'll all be sharing our ideas. I'll be able to walk you through the steps that you need. With my 30 years of experience of doing this, I've encountered every imaginable scenario. So whatever class management challenge you might be having or any other kind of challenge you might have that you need help with in order to be able to lead really active and engaging music and movement times with your students that are going to keep them engaged and thriving and really help them to take advantage of these amazing developmental benefits, like I mentioned before: cognitive, social and emotional, impulse control, gross and fine motor, physical development, academic performance, all adding up to school ready. There's no more powerful tool than music and movement for developing language. And you can see on the video, I'm leading the group without playing the music. That's what you're going to be doing, modeling the movements and leading your students in the group time. I'm so excited to be working with you guys coming up very soon. And I'll pass it over to Dr. B.
Super. This is great. I have shared plenty, so I don't need to share more skills. I will just say that the reason we don't offer this course asynchronously or like just self-paced is because you must have this kind of guidance through this. It's not that this is difficult, but it requires practice and reflection. And that's what the coaching will give you a chance to do, to come back and say, hey, I tried that and this is what happened, and talk to your peers and share experiences. And through that, the growth is just astronomical. So we'd welcome you to join us. We appreciate you for all of the work that you do every day with the children. You have the absolute most important job. So from NHSA and the Academy, Thank you so much for all of the work you do, and we'll see you next time.
Well, okay, so keep your eyes open for that digital backpack. It'll include a tool from our experts recording this webinar, information about our courses. Feel free to reach out with any questions you have. If you haven't had a chance to fill out that form yet with your questions, please do. Thank you so much for coming today. You are absolutely our heroes. Deb, you want to give them their final word?
Oh, yeah, don't forget. Head Start is access to the American dream. Go make dreams happen.
Bye, everybody.
Beautiful.
Yeehaw!